Hello, everybody. Welcome to week 5. It is time for our weekly walkthrough. I'm sorry I'm running behind. As you guys know, I was out of town part of last week and part of the week before, so I'm finally getting caught up. I should be getting your grades back on the thing that I owe you within the next week, within this actual week, so prior to the weekend. When I do get those back to you, because it is one of the assignments that has um the potential for for a revision, you can always have a full week. So even if the deadline says a week from Sunday, if, a week from this past Sunday, you can always have a full week. So don't worry about that. If you turn it in within a week of me giving it back to you, everything is in good shape. So let me go ahead and open the course and let's talk about where we are. As I mentioned, we are entering week 5, which is the work week for the technical documents. So last week you focused on the preparing for the technical writing. We talked a little bit about we talked about the assignment a little bit in the walkthrough last week. So we'll go over that a little bit more this week. Essentially, you're going to be turning in another portfolio. This one is going to have 3 documents in it, definition, description, and some form of instructions. You could have 3 completely different kinds of instructions as well. So there's a lot of things that you can do there. In terms of the readings this week and what you're learning new things about, I am going to have you look at chapter 5 on research in our online textbook, because of course you are going to need to do research for probably in even creating the technical documents, but certainly in the formal analytical report that is going to involve formal research. And so next week is going to be the topic choice time. So we're kind of moving in that direction. Um, and the technical documents may or may not become part of your formal analytical report. In some cases, it makes sense to integrate them into the formal analytical report. In other cases, it doesn't make sense to integrate them whole, but you may be using the same topic, so you may be using some of the same research, and you can find a way to utilize that information most likely. So let me go ahead and open the module. We'll go ahead and shrink week 4. So this week, as I mentioned, the new reading is the information on research, but I do have links to the technical document portfolio for the original submission. And of course, the professional writing portfolio for revision. As I mentioned, I don't expect that back until you've had at least a week with it. So I know nobody's gotten it back yet because I'm still getting caught up on the grading, but I'll get those back to you as soon as possible. I've got some additional information on research and information literacy. I've got a link to the Library Citation Center for help with citing sources and things of that nature. That's also where, of course, you would find the APA style sheet and all the information about that, as well as templates for APA documents. And so then you'll be able to complete the assignment. So let's look at that assignment sheet again for the technical document portfolio. So you are going to be choosing a field. You've already ostensibly probably chosen that field. And I really want to encourage you to choose something that you are super interested in. Now, this could be, in many cases, it will be your chosen field of study, what you plan on getting an advanced degree in, or what you plan on doing for work, maybe directly after you graduate from Lake Sumter. So there's a lot of different possibilities. But not everybody knows what they want to do for a job. And so I do like to keep this open to allow you to utilize hobbies and interests instead. Um, because the more interested you are in the subject matter, the more likely you are to do a great job. both on the technical documents here and on the formal analytical report. So it literally could be anything. One of the things that I spend a lot of time on now that I didn't maybe earlier in my life would be health and fitness. And so even though I don't ever plan on working in the health and fitness field, I could certainly see using that for my formal analytical report as well as my specific technical documents. So if I'm doing that for this particular assignment, I'm going to identify my primary audience or audiences. It is possible that each tech document would have a different audience. So for example, let's say I wanted to define high intensity interval training. So the gym that I go to is based on HIIT workouts. And so I might start with a definition of what is HIIT. And that might be my first document in my document portfolio. Now, the audience for that is probably going to be people who are novices to exercise. So it could be completely introductory. Now, I could gear it more towards people who have done other kinds of workouts but have never tried HIIT. There's a lot of ways that I can tackle it. So when you provide an intro to this portfolio, you're going to establish, here's the documents I'm doing, and here are the audiences. They may be the same audience, but they don't have to be. It could be 3 different audiences. It could be 2 for 2 and 1 for whatever. Okay. But I'm going to have 3 separate documents. So one might be a definition. And then one of mine would probably be safety guidelines. If I was talking about HIIT workouts, I could talk about heart rate, I could talk about all of those sorts of things. And then I might do training materials from the coach's perspective, because the gym that I attend is a coach-based training program. And so maybe the safety guidelines and the definition would be geared towards people who are interested in doing the workout, but the training materials might be for someone who is going to be leading or, coaching for the workout. Use whatever research that you need to in order to create these. Typically, the documents themselves, depending on, who the audience is, you probably won't have big formal citations on the documents. I would expect there to be some visuals on these documents. I do expect you to utilize headings and subheadings to keep things organized. Typically, these kinds of documents are not going to be narrative in form. They're not going to have long, long paragraphs over and over again. They're probably going to be more list oriented or numbered lists, even if you were talking about a process document. Maybe a process document might be how to open the gym in the morning. Like it would be from the perspective of somebody who works there. So there's a ton of different ways that you can go about this. Each document will be its own thing. So you should not have them all 3 on one page. They should all start on new pages for sure. So kind of like we did with the other portfolios where each thing is kind of distinct from each other. You do want to make them distinct, but they are going to all be in one overarching document. So you will have a title page because it's APA. You will have a table of contents in which you utilize the Word formatting with the headings and subheadings and all of that stuff. And it will have a references page for showing where you got the information from. You may not have individual in-text citations in this particular document because it might not be appropriate for that audience. They may not need to see, formal in-text citations, but you do need to include the research that you that went into it. Okay. So at the end, before the references page, you're also going to have a reflective statement explaining the rationale behind your document choices, the challenges faced during the creation process, and how you address them. So you're going to be in talking about the field and why you chose it and all of that stuff as well. So you're going to have several pages in this document, at least title, table of contents, introduction, 3 documents, and a reflection and a references page, minimum of 8 pages. Okay, if we're only having each thing be 1 page. Could be longer than that, but that would be the basic minimum there. Okay, so if you have any questions about it, let me know. As with the past one, once you get it back, you will have the ability to do a revision. And because this is a 100-point portfolio, you could earn up to 20 extra points for that revision. So keep an eye out for the ones that I owe you from last week, and you can get those revisions in soon. And we will be on target for the second 2/3 of the semester. Everybody take care and have a great day.